All right, so for the color grading process, you really can just deliver this as is to a client and you'd probably be fine. I like to just stylize the footage a little bit more and give it more of a look. And so we are going to do a little color grade here, and we'll start by coming into our project, then up to File, New, Adjustment Layer, hit OK, and then drag that adjustment layer onto your timeline above all of your clips, stretch it out across the entire timeline, and then we're going to add our color grade to that adjustment layer. Now the reason we do that is so that we can separate and distinguish our color correction from our color grade. We know that all the clips are generally corrected, exposure and color, and now by stylizing a grade, we can apply that grade to the whole thing as a whole and just make minor adjustments because we already know that we've corrected the colors and exposure on all the clips. Now you don't have to use a LUT, but this would be the time to use a LUT. So we're going to close our basic correction and come into creative. And for a lot of the projects I do, I like to add just a little bit of orange and teal, not over the top, but just a little bit of complementary colors going in there. So we'll come into my personal LUT that you guys can buy off of Lutify, or if you're a member of the FTF course, it's included for free. So let's put that on there, and you see the grade that instantly gets applied. Just makes it a little bit more cinematic in my opinion. This is a personal preference thing. You may hate the look altogether. I like it. There's the before and after. Just makes the blues a little more teal and just cleans up all the colors, making them on that spectrum of either orange or blue. If you look over here and we toggle that on and off, just condenses all of our colors to be sitting on that complementary color line, which is scientifically proven to be pleasing to the eye. So let's move forward then. Now I can make this less or more intense. I like it where it's at. If I wanted to sharpen the footage, this is where I would do it now. I think we're okay though. So that's it for the creative tab. Next I'd come into curves, and I want to make this look a little more poppy. It's generally my style, so I'm just going to add a little curve to add a tad more contrast. So this is an S curve where we bring the shadows down and our highlights up, creating an S shape, and there's a before and after on that, just a bit more contrasty. Some people like flatter looks. I like a little more contrasty looks. You bring down the highlights a tad. Let's play that through the whole clip. Might be a little too dark, so let's bring this up a tad and this up a tad. Okay, we'll call that good. Now coming down to hue versus saturation. First, I'd protect my skin tones, which lie between there and there approximately. And then I'm just going to play with my greens and my blues independently here. For this video specifically, I want to bring up the saturation of my greens a little bit more because we have a lot of green in the image. And so I'm going to bring up my greens just a little bit more there so they're kind of popping out. And then blues, I actually think I want to desaturate just a little bit because it's a less important color in our color scheme here. Bring that down a tad. Here's the before and after on that. Very subtle. And then hue versus hue, same thing. Gonna protect my skin tones there. With my greens, typically with an orange and teal look, you're gonna make these more orangey, but for the sake of this video where green is an important color for us, I'm actually gonna bring back a little bit of that green, natural green look. And blue, I'm just gonna push even a little bit more to the teal side. Not too much, but about right there. Before and after on that. And that's pretty much all I would do in the curves tab. So here's the before and after. See what we've done there. Again, I enjoy that poppy, contrasty look. You may not like that as much. That is personal preference. Maybe bring up the shadows just a little bit more. Okay, I'm liking that. So I'm pretty happy with that color grade. Now it's just a matter of going through each individual clip and making sure we don't need to make any specific tweaks to any one clip that might be a little bit different than another. So let's go to the next one. That one's pretty much the same. Okay, this clip is a little bit brighter on the highlights, so let's isolate him. And as I'm looking at this, I might want to zoom in a little bit on this clip. We just have some dead space over here I don't care about, so I'm going to punch in a tad there. Here's the before and after on that punch in. Makes that jump cut look a little bit better too. Okay, moving on to this clip. Here's the before and after on our color grade. Let's just see if there's anything we want to change about this. I think it might just be a little too crushy. So maybe if we bring this up a tad and highlights down a tad. This guy just didn't need quite as much contrast there. See how that matches. I think we're good there. This guy looks a little dark to me. Bring up our shadows and our highlights, maybe even a little more. Before and after on that grade. We'll call that good for now. Moving on to the next one. See the before and after on this guy. I like the grade. Might be a little too shadowy here. Maybe bring up shadows just a tad there. Okay. This guy, before and after. Again, maybe just bring up those shadows a tad. Good, nice and poppy. This guy, I think we can push a little bit more on the highlight end here. Really get that image popping. See the before and after on the color grade. Okay, liking that. And we have our color grade applied to the software as well, which isn't necessary, but it does kind of make all the colors match throughout the edit, so we'll just keep them on there. However, probably want to bring up our exposure a little bit there. Looks good on that one. Coming back to our monitor here. Bring down our shadows a little more. Before and after on that. I think that looks fine. I think those look fine. This little guy in here, it's looking a little too bright. Let's bring down our shadows and our highlights, actually. I think this was just that our color correction was too hot. There we go. It's looking better. There's our grade there. A little more contrasty. Coming back here, it actually should be the same as this one. So I'm just gonna extend that over. And there's the before and after. Ooh, that guy's a little hot too. Again, these are tough exposures when you're dealing with exposing for a projector and for us as the subjects hitting into the projector. Okay, now this guy, maybe just a tad hot here. It's already pretty contrasty, so we don't need to add much contrast to that. Maybe even less shadow there. Before and after here. Might be getting a little hot. And then this guy, again, maybe a tad hot. Bring down our shadows a bit. Let's make these shadows a little darker. And this guy, might be a tad hot up there. Bring down our whites a little bit there so they're not hugging the top too much. And our before and after on that guy. So there you have it for our color grade. All of our visuals should match. Everything should have a consistent exposure, consistent colors throughout. So visuals should be done. Now it's time to focus on the audio.